All right, everybody, and welcome. My name is Jose. I'm from Rivian Tracker, and welcome to our R1 refresh discussion. I'm joined today by David from Emerald City Rivian Club. Hey, David, thanks for joining me in this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to talk about some changes.
Yep. So just a couple of days ago or last week, we saw the Rivian R1 refresh for the R1T and the R1S. And so we just kind of wanted to sit down and talk a little bit about it, go through all the different changes and options that are, different between Generation 2 vehicles versus the Generation 1 vehicles that are currently out there, and just kind of give our thoughts and opinions on it. And don't know how long this video is going to be. We'll see, but I'll definitely break it into chapters so that folks can skip through as they choose. And yeah, so we'll kind of get started. So right off the bat, Rivian announced that we're getting some new motors, and so obviously they already had a dual motor variant, but now they're that's continuing on to the Generation 2, as well as the performance dual motor, and then the quad motor is getting redone with new in-house motors. But now that typically would be where it ends, right? Dual motor, quad motor. But Rivian surprised us and said, "Hang on a minute, we're going to make a tri-motor variant vehicle that will be available later this year. That's kind of going to be the best of both worlds when it comes to performance and range." What do you think, David, of these new options, and what's your favorite?
Yeah, I think it's actually a little surprising because at least, from some of the forums online, I think most people expected the quad motor to go away and the tri motor to be the new quad. At least
Yeah.
that's what I was reading. And so I almost felt like the tri was expected, but the quad was a little bit more of the surprise. But I don't know. I mean, it really depends. I can't pick my favorite because it depends on what options do I want. If I wanted the new glass roof and a lot of the kind of little add-ons, then you start to push yourself price wise towards that tri-motor variant. But if you're someone who like doesn't want some of those top features, then going with the dual large or dual max seems really perfect for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the for most people, a dual motor or even performance dual motor is going to be enough power and performance.
Hmm.
But here comes Rivian saying, "Hang on a minute, we're going to give you all the power you want. You want over 1,000 horsepower? Here's a quad motor, new
That's
in-house
right.
designed quad motor that can give you, 1,000 plus horsepower, which is bonkers." Um, but we'll
Yeah.
have to wait a little bit longer for that quad motor because that won't be available till next year. And the tri motor will be available a little bit later this year. So we'll just have to hold on just a little bit longer to see how well those really do in the real world.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Excited to see some
Jumping
videos
in,
on that.
yeah, exactly. Some new batteries. So Rivian has introduced a new standard LFP battery pack. As well as retooled their large and max battery packs, now using new cells. But some caveats. That is, number one, they are lower kilowatt hour capacity overall, but they are more efficient. So you get the
Mhm.
same great range, but it's cheaper to charge, so to speak. Um, what do you think? Let's talk about this a little bit, and what do we think about it? Which battery here is the best, really, when it comes to most owners versus the old battery packs.
Yeah, I think previously it made the most sense for most people to go with the large pack, and I still feel like that's translated here. But I think for people who are considering the max pack now, the gap between large and max is larger and makes it a little bit more justified in terms of cost and charging cost to kind of go with that larger cost max pack. Yeah, I think the previous one, if I remember right, is about 131 kilowatts on the large pack and about 141 or 145, somewhere
Yeah,
around there
yeah,
on the max pack.
141. Yeah.
Yeah, now the large pack is 109, but still gets much better efficiency than the previous one. And so that to me still seems like a really good spot for most people. I mean, I have a second EV that gets only 200 miles per charge. and that is actually surprisingly a great road tripper. So if I take my truck at 300 miles and my other vehicle at 200 miles, they actually make it the same time on a road trip, like from Seattle to San Francisco, for example, because your max kind of range is lost at the beginning part. So I still think large is probably good for most people, but if you want that ultimate adventure, go into the mountains, not worry about it, max pack is really nice.
Yeah, and so I think there's a couple of things here. Number one, with the standard being an LFP battery pack, you'll be able to more often charge to 100% if you wanted to, because it's not truly charging to 100%. But
Hmm.
also you will get supposedly, and I spoke to Kyle Connor from Out of Spec about this, and he shared that they expect that standard battery pack to be able to hold that max peak of charging speed longer than the large and max packs. So that could definitely make for a better battery to like road trip with, even though you may have to charge more often, because you'll be able to be at the charging stops shorter amount of time, right? Now, again, until we really get our hands on these batteries and get
Yeah.
to test them out, we don't really know. So that could be one caveat. And then two, with the large and max battery packs, I've reached out to Rivian, and Rivian pretty much told me we're not ready to talk about this right now, and that is whether or not the new large battery pack is actually a max battery pack that is just software locked.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of reasons behind why that's a possibility, but Rivian is very quiet about it and they don't want to say that. So that makes me feel like that is the case. And maybe one day in the future they can sell a max battery pack unlock, right? And for 5,000 extra dollars or whatever, you suddenly unlock. Or better yet, instead of charging as the battery degrades, they can unlock additional percentage of the battery
Hmm.
to then actually reduce that degradation, right? So suddenly your battery continues to hold the same amount of charge for a much
Yeah.
longer period of time because they can unlock that. Um, so that could be a possibility too.
Yeah, that's interesting. And this is not purchasing advice, but I'm curious if buying a large pack now could have the potential for that paid unlock in the future, to where maybe if you
Yeah.
don't feel like you need it all the way, if that's an option in the future, and if Rivian acknowledges that, then that could be something that's really enticing.
Yeah, and one last thing on the batteries, I think that what happened, previous with Generation One, it was really hard to recommend anybody buy a max battery pack vehicle because it was so
Hmm.
much money for maybe 14 additional kilowatts of capacity, and it was too much money. But now, by reducing your large, right, and improving the max, that range suddenly becomes a bit larger. So now it becomes maybe a little bit easier to say, yeah, definitely go for the max pack because it gives you way more power or much more capacity versus the large. So something to take into
Yeah.
consideration. But we'll have to see how they do in the real world. Um,
Yeah, and it is still $7,000 between the large and the max pack, and so I think again for most people, because especially now that the supercharger network is opened, I've never had range anxiety in my large pack, and I have a brick of a tent on the back of my truck, and so I don't get anywhere close to 300 miles. But that's I've never felt like I really needed more. But for those who tow, or like I said, kind of want to go on longer adventures without charging as often, the Max Pack now makes a little bit more sense. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Moving on, speaking of efficiencies, heat pump. You want to talk about this, David? Because I think this impacts you a little bit more than it does me in Florida, where I don't typically use a heat pump. But you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I don't even feel like I live that much in a really cold weather environment. I mean, Seattle's winters are timid, but I do go up into the mountains quite a bit and ski and snow every weekend. And so, um, yeah, I'm excited for this. It does take up a little bit of the front space on the underfloor section, and so the front area is smaller for storage capacity. It's a trade-off that I'm willing to make. Maybe not for people who live in warm weather climates, but it is on all of them. You don't have that option. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. But again, only time will tell with testing if it is going to make a big impact.
Yeah, I think that was a good move. So smart one for Rivian. Regardless, even if if I drove up to the northeast here in the East Coast or whatever, it could be beneficial. So that's awesome. Moving on, we have a new exterior color that was announced, Storm Blue. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, this is the bad part of this. It is exclusive to the tri and quad motor variants only. So if you want to get it on a dual motor, you can't. Um, I think this is a really gorgeous color. I
Hmm.
showed it to my wife, and she was like, "It looks the same as the other ones." And I'm like, "Nope, this is very different, and I like it a lot." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Sure, whatever." But I think it's nice. What do you think?
Yeah, agreed. I've seen it in person, and it's like the perfect combination of El Cap and limestone almost, or maybe even El Cap and kind of a Rivian blue with it being
Yeah.
that color. But yeah, it's a gorgeous color. I don't know if it will push me over the edge to try, but it's a nice incentive for people to kind of upgrade.
Yeah, and it's always just a new color is nice, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
I adding a new color to any vehicle lineup is not an easy task. So the fact that they were able to do this, and we with our previous generation, we had Compass Yellow, which was a great color that got removed. So I feel like it's kind of replacing. You take one out and
Mhm.
replace it with another. So it's not like they're it's too much effort there. Um, but speaking of
Yeah.
colors, dark out trim package. So now you have the option to take all your silver trim, elements on the vehicle, emblems, and all that, and make it black or dark gray. And so, with the caveat that the Compass logo on the hood remains silver, that's fine. I don't think it's a big deal. It is a paid option on pretty much every model, on all models except Tri and Quad, where you can it's
Mhm.
opted in automatically, but you can opt out for the silver trim if you prefer that. Um, Again, this is nice. I On my truck, Generation One R1T, I actually went through Abstract Ocean. They used to sell this trim
Same.
package as a thing, yeah. And I bought it and put it on my truck with the yellow kind of like outline and the black in the front, and it looks great. And I was very sad when they got, when Rivian reached out to me and said, you got to remove it. And of course, it's trademark reasoning, and they're using copyright stuff
Yeah.
and all that. But also, here's Rivian releasing their own version of that for $750 on the R1T or $1,000 on the R1S. Yeah, I don't think I would if I bought a Gen 2 vehicle. I'd definitely black it out.
Yeah, same. And I like that it isn't an actual dark black. It is more of a dark gunmetal gray. I
Yeah,
think it matches a little bit more of the overall look and feel of the truck and isn't just another black trim. Yeah, I like my Abstract Ocean ones, but I will say the yellow on the Abstract Ocean never matched the rest of the yellow. So I'm glad Rivian is
yeah,
doing this so it can match perfectly. I do like that it adds the skid plates on the front and the back. They're now darkened as well, and same with the tow hooks. So you are getting the whole thing finished, and you don't have to like wrap those panels. So it's not horribly expensive. It's a good ad.
yeah. I actually wrapped my those panels, the front and back,
Hmm.
black. They're matte black and or satin finish, and the place I took it to said it was the biggest pain in the butt because they thought they could just wrap, right? Like wrap it and like tuck in,
Yeah,
but they couldn't do that. They had to disassemble it to be able to get it in there properly, which I appreciate that
yeah,
they did it right. But now you can get it straight from the factory that way. So I mean, I feel
that's
like
right.
that's a big win.
Yep.
Um, Tow hooks. So this isn't a thing that we would, you think, why are you talking about tow hooks? But this is important to note that the base model dual motor standard battery adventure trim R1T and R1S, so like the base one, doesn't come standard with tow hooks. It actually
And it's not even
comes
an
with,
option.
yeah, it's not even an option. If you want to get tow hooks, you got to move yourself up to a dual motor large battery that then unlocks it. So um, I don't think personally that this is um, I don't know if this is because of the new standard LFP battery, like there's a reason for like the way it's designed, or if they just said, yeah, you're not going to get it on the base model.
Yeah, I think it's just cost cutting. I was a little bit worried that this means you can't ever recover the vehicle, um, or at least you have to use some of the joints and arms of the vehicle that you shouldn't. But in the base model where the tow hook normally is, there at least is an eye for a tow eye, and that does come on all Rivians, which I actually found interesting because the eye doesn't work if you have a tow hook. It's in the same mounting point. It can't
Oh, wow.
physically fit, and yet it ships with every truck. So they're just that's a little bit of a wasted cost there. But at least they do give you that option on the standard dual pack.
Yeah, didn't know that actually. Interesting. Yeah. So is it just like in the same place? Is it just built into like the bumper itself, but not like the plastic in the front, right?
No, so if you go on any vehicle, any R1 that has the tow hooks, there it's a little bit of rubber right behind the passenger side one. And if you
Yeah.
push in there, you can see the hole where the tow eye should go. So it's in the same spot on the new one, just doesn't have that tow hook in front.
So it makes
At
okay.
least that's what I
Well,
was
I
told
mean,
by someone. Yeah, I haven't put my hands
yeah,
on it.
yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. Underbody protection. This is now only available with the all-terrain package. We're talking about that carbon fiber protection that comes underneath the vehicle. That just protects it from damage. I have that on my truck because back then it was kind of standard. I think with the all-terrain
Mhm.
package, or I don't. I think it just came with it. I don't know, but it's nice to have there. So that exists, but again, only available if you get the all-terrain package.
Yeah, they did. I do not believe it's made out of carbon fiber anymore. I don't remember what
Oh,
material it's made out of, but I was told it was not carbon fiber. I could be wrong there. Let me know in the comments if someone knows for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't have it on my truck. I've been off-roading probably close to 50 times now. I think it's great that it comes with the package, but I'm glad they're not charging an additional amount on top of the all-terrain package for it.
sure, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and nice on top of that as well as the utility panel with the built-in air compressor. That is now an option, and that is either standalone for what is it, $650?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, $650, which also includes the auxiliary hose kit that used to come in all of the Rivians, or that is also included in the off-road package or the all-terrain package. But either way, you do get a portable air compressor that now has a dedicated slot in the front. So I'm glad they at least gave you that option. But it's weak. It didn't feel great in the hand. It's cheap. It'll do its job. But I'm still going to purchase the utility panel in the future.
Yeah, I feel like that was such a big selling point of the Rivian is having
Yeah.
that built-in panel with the air compressor, and I've made fun of plenty of Cybertruck owners that I know because they don't have a built-in air compressor in their truck. Like they pay all this money, and I mean it has air suspension and all that, but there's no air compressor, right? And so
Yeah.
um, it's so weird, but again, at least it's an option there, so that's not too bad. But anyways, gear guard, cable locks. Yeah, nothing really exciting there. It only comes if you get the utility panel package, so that's just the cables that let you lock stuff in the back of your truck. Powered tonneau cover is available for $1,500.
It's back. Yeah.
It is back,
Yep.
and seems to be redesigned in a small way because of the next thing. Which Dave, you want to talk about the next thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's the manual tonneau cover. According to the Gears shop, the manual tonneau cover for the previous gen R1s are not compatible on the new R1T. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's a
Yeah,
new end cap piece, something in the middle. Is it a railing difference? That's a good question. Something to look out for the future. Hopefully, Rivian clarifies that. But I'm just glad that
yeah.
the powered tonneau is an option. Living in a rainy climate, I use it all the time. So
Yeah. So that pretty much means though that your options currently today are, well, they don't sell the new 2025 R1T just yet, but when it does come out is
yeah,
your options are no tonneau cover or a powered tonneau cover or an aftermarket once that gets made by somebody. But I would
right.
imagine that Rivian will eventually sell a manual tonneau cover for Gen 2. It would That's easy money for them. So I can't imagine why not.
Yeah, although
Um,
for its cost, I definitely prefer some other third party options that are act in a similar way of sliding in the rails,
yeah.
but are a lot stronger.
Yeah, just go to Home Depot and get yourself some 4x2 or whatever, set it up there. Anyways, yeah. Uh, Next
Yeah,
thing we want to talk about is matrix projection headlights. This is exciting. So,
Mhm.
this has been around in Europe for a long time, but finally it's coming to the US, and by the end of this year, it will finally be approved to like go live. But pretty much, the Rivian headlights allow for a couple of things. Number one, it allows the headlight to bend around corners, right? So when you're making a turn or whatnot, the light will kind of follow you. But also, what's really cool is the ability to auto disable high beams for incoming traffic or oncoming traffic. And what I mean by that is that if you have a car coming, you have your high beams on because it's really dark out, and usually when a car's coming, it'll probably dim back to low beams, and kind of you reduce your light output. But with this, it will actually turn off the designated LED pixels that are at the like exactly where that car is coming from in order not to blind oncoming traffic. And like that's just really freaking intelligent. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
um, so that will come already with the vehicles, but it will not be enabled until later in the year via software update. But that's really neat. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Excited to see that for sure.
Next change up front, these are kind of just little small external changes that happened, but the light bar up front and in the rear of the vehicle now have a new charging level indicator that's kind of broken up into 10 little segments that kind of fill up as you charge your vehicle that match the state of charge of your vehicle. Just this is, I think, a way for Rivian to be like, look, we can do cool things with a light bar, and also it's RGB, so like you can have it in different colors and whatnot. And we'll talk about that in a second. But and it also helps, I guess, people see, what how far is your vehicle actively charging, at what state of charge is it kind of at. So it's fine. I also really like the way it appears today with like the full light,
Yeah.
full headlight that does it. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
it definitely is a visual difference, because the entire light bar is different. And
yeah.
today it's almost, or in Gen 1, it's kind of like a foggy, smoky white, where the new one is almost like a crystal white. It looks more expensive. It feels more expensive. Or on those little 10 segments, it's kind of cool. There are actual 10, 20, 30 indicators,
Oh,
printed,
really?
or not printed, but
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
it's in the plastic. It's kind of cool. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so I'm glad they did
yeah.
that. But I think the light bar overall looks better. I'm not sure if it's actually brighter, but I guess we'll talk about this now because the blinker location has changed from the stadium light to now the old fog light position that allows for the full light bar and stadium lights to stay fully illuminated when the blinker is activated. Previously, the whole thing would dim
Yeah.
in order to
Due to
hit
regulations.
U.S. regulation. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm glad to see that it kind of keeps that iconic look whenever you're driving around.
I'm going to miss the stadium headlight blinker because I always thought it was really cool that it encompassed the oval.
Mhm.
At the same time, small little pet peeve of mine, and I bet other owners have probably had it before, was the fact that it would dim the whole setup, right? And it's just by law it had to do that, so it was an inconvenience. And
Yeah,
other vehicles are similar to this, and you'll see them. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, but also because of that, because of the location being moved now to the old location where the fog lights are, there are no more fog lights in Generation Two, or are they?
at least
So
dedicated ones, right? Yeah,
right. There's no dedicated fog lights in Generation 2, but the Matrix headlights do have the ability to improve visuals in the fog, in foggy environments. So it's not completely gone, though I will say this caveat to this is that not that Rivian had any plans to sell the R1 in Europe, but in the European Union, it is required by law to have front fog lights and rear fog lights, so dedicated fog lights. So that they would not be able to sell the refresh Rivian in Europe because of that. Although we do still have rear fog lights apparently, so that's cool. They are still there.
yeah. It's interesting.
Um,
I didn't know the EU was also a front requirement. I knew they had the back one,
Yeah,
but
yeah. And they're very specific about it has to be a certain distance from the floor and pointed at certain angles.
yeah,
As you know, it's really interesting. This could be a whole nother discussion, so I won't get too much into it, but like the US has always been against having the matrix projection lights, but like they're so like don't care about fog lights. Like fog lights, yeah, we don't care. They're not important. You don't need
yeah.
to have them. It's the ridiculous things that the NHTSA whatever, the National Highway Transportation Board cares about or not. But anywho, speaking still of lights, because we're not done about lights yet. I mentioned earlier the ability for the light bars kind of have RGB effect, right? Um, they now have a new hazard pattern light feature that will enable the front and rear light bars to kind of direct traffic away from your vehicle. So let's say you were at a 3-lane highway and your vehicle broke down or something happened and you were in the middle lane. You can now set up, when you put your hazard on, there's this new interface on the UI and the screen that will allow you to have the turn signals, this light bar in the back, like kind of flash, arrows away from you, like telling people to go around you, or just to the left, or just to the right. And this is apparently like emergency vehicles have this, and it's not pretty common in like commercial, vehicles. So like this is like the first time I think I've seen this. I
Yeah, I've
mean,
never
it's
seen it.
neat. Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, I do
But
think.
also kind of gimmicky. I
Yeah,
don't know.
although it's interesting because if you are an emergency vehicle, this is now built into it, so that could potentially be cost savings for them and make them want to buy the vehicle
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
But yeah, more importantly, it's interesting because I've played with this in person. When you just activate the hazard lights, they kind of come on and off at a normal rate. But when you activate this new hazard pattern, those lights all of a sudden are about half speed because
Mm,
it needs time for that pattern to fill. So I do. This is my request, Rivian, is to almost double the time because it almost to me felt like it was a little bit less safe. You had less light flashing in other drivers' face to give them warning. So I'd say double that and have it continue to provide that light.
interesting.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
small
All right.
details.
Small details, but neat nonetheless. And I mean, there's so many possibilities with those light bars through software. So, and I mean, Wasim and the team through some different videos I saw stated that expect to see fun Easter eggs come
Yeah,
with those. So that should be fun.
yeah.
Um, moving on, we've got 4K high dynamic range or HDR exterior cameras, which 3x camera resolution over generation one. Not only that, but some of the cameras have been repositioned, and some previously never used cameras have been now eliminated. So, more importantly, there was a camera that was located on the fender of the vehicles. Those have now been moved up to the side view mirror. So, the side view mirror housing
Mhm.
contains now 3 different cameras per housing unit, which is crazy to me, but it works for autonomous driving, which we'll talk about it later, the Rivian autonomy platform, and it's just better situated. But David, you got to see the vehicles in person. Tell me, are those camera crystal clear?
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I used to have a Model Y, and that had a very good, clear camera. This one beats that. It is the clearest camera I've ever seen in a vehicle. But more than just the resolution, I am finally excited that both the R1T and S are getting front and rear camera washers. Previously, it was just the R1S rear, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, because like I go off road a lot, there's always dust and dirt and mud on there, so it's nice to be able to just press a button and have those cleaned off.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me living in, Florida where it rains 90% of the time, similar to Seattle, it's always, just stuff flies up on the camera lens and it's always
Yeah.
dirty. And I often find myself just taking a cloth and wiping the cameras, especially the front and back cameras, which I use it because the cameras in the generation one vehicles are like potato quality, not really good. You're often if you get dirt on there, like it just makes it impossible to utilize. So,
Mhm.
um, so that kind of concludes the first portion of this video, which was kind of the exterior features. We're gonna jump in now to like interior stuff. And David, I want you to go ahead and, if you don't mind, leading kind of this part, and I'll let you read out the stuff, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think let's start with the new interior. And so on the regular dual motor vehicles, it is the interior that everyone loves and is familiar with. But on the tri and I'm assuming quad because we haven't seen full details there yet. We have now a new Ascend Premium interior option. It's not an option; it is the Tri and Quad interior. It's nice because the seats have a new pattern. It's a kind of a plaid pattern. There's a actual Compass logo in the seat. All of the silver brushed, metal trim on the interior is now this really nice kind of bronze color. There's some new wood options. So I'm excited to see this overall. I think there is a lot more leather wrapped panels as well. So it does feel like you're getting a more expensive premium interior. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I am obsessed with the Ascent Premium interior. It is beautiful. I don't know what it is. It could be the stitching on the seats just being refined, having
Yeah,
the Rivian Compass on it, the plaid floor mats, which are just they scream, 80s, 90s, whatever, but like it's just or even earlier than that.
it works.
And they're just it's just I don't know why, but like I showed my wife this interior and she goes, that right there is worth the upgrade because of how pretty it is. And especially I don't know if you have this problem, David, but if you ever have somebody sitting in the passenger seat and the sun is in the right position, I know you don't get a lot of sun in Seattle, but when you do get sun, the blind it will hit the metal trim piece in the front dash of the vehicle, where like underneath the wood, and it'll become blinding because of like it just reflects off that. And now I have to wonder with this upgraded trim, being a bronze finish, if it will help reduce that a little bit because it's not like this silver finish. Maybe not
Yeah.
because it's not matte finish. But anyways, everything looks so much nicer. I noticed on the steering wheel, there's even additional stitching on there that just looks really, really pretty. And
Yeah, the
yeah,
seat
I am
backs are a different
obsessed.
material.
Yeah, the slate sky with walnut, which is or slate blue with walnut, which is like a kind of a blue with that a light finish wood. Chef's kiss. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, for some
Can't
reason
wait
that
to
is
see
not
it.
showing up in the configurator, so I'm wondering if that is either a future ad or if that is a quad only. Not sure
It
yet.
is available on
Um,
Try. It will be available on Try, but so if you go into it is hidden in there, but it's not available in the configurator. It does take coming later 2024 for Try and Quad.
got it. Yeah, cool. And I think with the other two options, I think one thing that people were commenting on was the black interior for this premium option no longer comes with black wood, which some people hate, but that's actually what people have been asking for 2 years. Is give me that gorgeous brown ash wood from the Forest Edge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now the Ocean Coast comes with a lighter gray wood, not the old blonde from before, but it's this nice kind of gray driftwood, I think they call it. But yeah, overall, I think the interiors are gorgeous.
One of our friend, a mutual friend of yours and mine, said that the Blackwood is just kind of tacky. It's like it's run its course, and
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but also at the same time, when any like natural wood finishes, walnut or birch wood, because that birch wood is gorgeous on that ocean. Like it's different. It gives it an airy vibe. It opens up the
Hmm.
vehicle interior very nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, and for the interior, we have some new accent lighting. I don't remember if they actually added more lights or if they just kind of changed out the RGB strips and bulbs that are in there. But now the Gen 2 gets a kind of a full curated selection of lights. I think they're called like a Pacific Sunset, Canyon Glow, Glacier Fog. So it's not just the colors, but it's actually a sound as well. You can mute that, but it's just this nice curation that feels Rivian, feels adventure. Um, I think that a version of this would be coming to Gen 1 in the future, maybe a little bit more simplified version if the lights themselves aren't capable of this new curation. But yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Um, so yeah, I think it's cool, right? Like ambient lighting, like I have no strong feeling really towards it. I think what I probably have a stronger feeling towards is the fact that our generation one vehicles obviously have the opportunity to do RGB because we've seen it with the Halloween overlays. We've seen green, we've seen orange. We're not asking for anything complicated here, and yet I feel like it was really an afterthought of saying, well, yeah, I guess we'll give it to Gen 1, a simplified version of it, right? Hopefully will come,
Yeah.
because as of this video recording, that hasn't happened yet. So we're take it as a promise, and I'm gonna be full honest here. Like, Rivian has made promises before and kind of haven't gone through with it. So like, you have to be very cautious with this about it. I think it looks great, but then what's different about the lighting situation in our vehicles, clearly being RGB, that would prevent us from getting these type of things? That's kind of my
Right.
question.
If it's a specific hue, let us just have the different hue. It's fine. But yeah, I agree.
Exactly. So I mean, it'd be cool. It'll be cool. I mean, regardless, it's neat. But and I think that if Rivian is pulling an Apple, and by that I mean they're not just giving you a color wheel where you can go and select whatever color you want. They're giving you specially curated um, options, because they're the ones that fit the nicest with their vehicle. So they're not going to go and let you suddenly make your vehicle hot pink, right? Like interior lighting. They're like, no, that doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not the Rivian way. So
Doesn't
like,
fit the
here, we're
brand.
going to give you these very. Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Yep. Yeah. Next thing is the new dynamic tinted glass roof. I think it's a nice addition for people who want to pay for that adjustability. But just, I've never had issues with heat. But again, I live in Seattle, so I don't have a lot of 100+ degree days to talk about in terms of experience. But the new roof now, with the touch of a button on the screen, can turn from clear to a kind of a opaque white color. It is not an electromagnetic roof that turns blue like pretty much everything else on there on the market. I love this. I'd never liked that blue look. It always looked kind of just weird to me. So this new white look just is this nice frosted glass. I can't wait to see it in person. Maybe I'll upgrade in the future. But yeah, I think it's a good ad.
Yeah, I can go either way with it. I thought it's neat,
Yeah.
and like watching the video of it being able to do it is kind of really cool. To answer your question, the Rivian glass roof is pretty heavily tinted already. But that being said, heavily tinted versus heat dissipation is two different things. And so like, I had to ceramic tint my roof, because again, I being in Florida, I do get those 3-digit degree hot temperatures, and the HVAC in the Rivian is really phenomenal and fantastic, and it's great. But I have no hair. I'm tall. All right. I'm 6'3". So when I'm sitting in the truck, it's just the heat beating down on my head, and it's just a lot of heat. So I think this is really neat. I like that it is standard on tri and quad motor. So you will automatically get that really nice experience. And yeah, and I mean, and if you don't want to spend the additional $1,500, you can still get your standard glass roof that's still tinted.
Yeah, and add a shade for under $100. If I got a dual motor, I probably would pay for the upgrade on Try. It's nice. Yeah. Yeah, and I think next we can talk about audio. So there is a new bass audio system. It comes with black speaker grills, fewer speakers, no subwoofer. So in the R1S, there's an extra storage cubby in the passenger side, very rear cargo space. And then the R1T, I believe the underseat storage in the back is a little bit bigger on that passenger
It's
side
fully
because
open
there's
up.
no
Yeah.
sub. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have confidence in this. I have the Meridian system. Love that. I've heard the new Rivian system, excuse me, not the Gen 2, but the unbranded one in the current systems. And I didn't find it that impressive. So I would absolutely upgrade if I were purchasing a vehicle right now. I think it's worth it for the metal speakers, for the sub, for the extra speakers overall. Yeah, I think it is a miss that Rivian gave us kind of a very cheap audio system for $70,000+.
Well, and also very important, Dolby Atmos is launching, later this year alongside Apple Music, and it's fair note to be, or fair say. Wow, my words are hard to say. It is fair to say that the standard bass audio system will not actually support Dolby Atmos in the vehicle. So
Right.
if that is something you care about and sound, and I'm not a tremendous audiophile, but I want to be able to listen to music night like good. I don't want to like have crappy audio. And like
Yeah.
you, David, I have the Meridian sound system in my truck, which is pretty good. I'm not going to complain. I have had a loaner with the Rivian premium audio, right, the previous generation one, and it was pretty mediocre. So
Mhm.
I don't know how I feel about this, and I truly am worried even for the Rivian Premium Audio, the new one, right? Like you're paying 1750 or so for it. Um, is it still going to be good, or is it going to be the same as the current Rivian Premium Audio experience, which is kind of mediocre? Not
Yeah.
like how does it get worse from there? But I guess the base audio, right? It is the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you mentioned Dolby Atmos. I believe that is coming to Gen 1 on Meridian systems only. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. Maybe they're going to add it to their previous premium audio, but it'll be nice to see that sometime in the future.
I guess that answers the question then. Yeah, because you're correct. It is coming onto the Meridian, but then I guess that answers the question that it is not the same premium audio system. It is definitely retuned or redone.
I hope not. I hope it's something new. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we can talk about kind of the under the seats, the floor a little bit too. Starting just real quick with the pedals. This doesn't really matter, but they've moved away from the silver metal plastic that used to be on the brake pedals to now just a standard black plastic. I don't really care. I don't
It
look at
is.
them. I think it's a good way to cut some extra cost.
Yeah, I think it should be noted though that the tri and quad still come with metal trim pedals.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So
Um,
now it's just another
then,
upgrade.
going to the yeah, exactly. But now going to the floor mats. I mean, the floor mats that now come on all dual motors is a dark, just kind of standard black gray floor mat. The Chili Witch is still an upgrade for all of the dual motors. But on the tri motor, we now get a new plaid floor mat, which looks kind of cool in the photos. Chili Witch is available for no additional charge. But yeah, what do you think?
Um, I really wish I had kept my original floor mats, the Chilliwack ones, because I don't. I have the all weather ones now and the Rivian all weather mats, and I love them. And I mean, it's easy to clean and super. They hold up really well. But I the dark floor mats, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. I guess nothing crazy about that. But the plaid, again, I said it earlier. Those plaid floor mats are like just beautiful, and I don't know about you, David, but I would love to be able to wipe my dirty feet on plaid floor mats. I see what you did there,
Yeah,
Rivian. I
we know
see what
what
you
you
did.
mean. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but as far as some internal storage, I talked about the extra little cubby on the base audio systems before, but now the camp speaker has been removed as standard. It is an upcharge. I think this is a good move because they have replaced it with a drawer for the dock. It is it's not lockable. It isn't full height, so something can't get stuck behind it. But the drawer itself is not locked, but kept in place from it sliding in and out. You can still unlock it from the screen. The whole unit comes out with the rails, and you can put something like the camp speaker in there as well. So I think this is a good add, especially considering we don't have a glove box in the refresh, which I was a little surprised at. But at least they added this in.
Yeah, I Rivian, give me $450 and I will give you the camp speaker back, and you can give me a free dock drawer because
I would probably make that trade.
yeah, my funny like my head's in the way, but my camp speaker sitting wherever, I can't do this. It's there with Gary on top. I know it's kind of blurry right now, but it's just sitting there because I had somebody 3D print me a dock drawer, and I use that in my truck, and that's where I keep my NACS adapters and my charging adapters in that compartment there in the middle. It doesn't lock, obviously, and by lock I mean you can't like lock it through the screen, so it just kind of sits there and it's well in place where it doesn't slide around, but I will buy an official one as soon as they sell. And I truly hope that I can't see a reason why it's not Gen 1 compatible, but I hope that they sell it on the gear shop because I will buy one.
Yeah, and the quality is really good. It is very smooth. It's got a really satisfying click into it. So they've done a good job there. They have kept the flashlight in the driver's door, so that is still there. Kind of a, I think that's Rivian's signature thing because it's on the R2 as well.
I can
So I'm
imagine a
glad they did that.
conversation. I can imagine about conversation where somebody was like, "Well, we're trying to cut costs. I guess we can remove the flashlight." And RJ just pops out of nowhere and goes, "You remove that flashlight, you're fired." Uh,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's a great to have. I always forget it's there, but it's such a good thing to have.
nobody uses it, but it's nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then there was nothing new in terms of added for heated or ventilated seats. There's still heated and ventilated standard on the front row, heated on the second row. R1S now has a heated third row as well, which is nice. I wish they would have added a ventilated second row. That would have been nice for adults. I know kids don't use it, but um, yeah, nothing new there. They have switched the interior handles to be electronic. So in the front door there is still a manual emergency latch, but there's a little electronic button right where the handle is. It's a little bit kind of almost far back. I've used it up your thigh a little bit, but in the rear it is just an electronic button. And this is I have a little bit of a problem with this because there is no
Mhm.
manual release that is accessible easily. It is behind a trim panel that needs to be actually pulled and ripped off, and you have to know about that, read the manual about that, remember that in an emergency situation, be able to explain it to either an adult in the back or hope that your child is strong enough in an emergency, life threatening situation. So I do feel like this is a huge miss from Rivian. Tesla did the same thing and everyone hates it. They should have just put a manual lever. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I don't have a big problem with electronic buttons to open doors. It doesn't really it's irrelevant to me, but I do agree with what you're saying, David, and I actually tweeted out through my account yesterday or the day before about this, and I said, I was going through the owner's guide for the 2025 because it came out, and I come across this, and I'm like, okay, so the front door is easy, right? There's an emergency handle. You should always have that. And then the back doors, yeah, you have to pull this little trim piece from the back of the door to take it out. Now, I haven't, neither you or I have had the chance to try this
Mhm.
in person, so we'll have to see how easy or difficult it is. But I posted about this and I got a lot of mixed feelings, right? And I'm not being fully honest. Most of the people who came at me defensively were Tesla owners, and just because Tesla does it doesn't mean that other people should be doing it this way.
That's
Because
right. Yeah.
yeah, I guess, and so, but if you are in a situation, and I'm not talking about, oh, my car battery ran out and I'm on the side of the road. I'm talking about my car drove into the water, or, God forbid, something like that happens, right? Some really desperate emergency, and you have children in the
Mhm.
back seat or something like that. Or even adults. I can't imagine a scenario where, like, you have to explain to people how to open the door emergency, right? Because, like, in a situation like that, your mind isn't in the right place. Like, there's a lot of things going on. Like, that's just so. I don't know. I don't think it's honestly going to get redesigned, and clearly it's allowed, right? There's no law that states that this
Right.
can happen. So, like, clearly it's there, and it is what it is. Like, it is unfortunate that that is how it is. I wish they would have found a different way of putting the manual release somewhere, even if it was like underneath, or I don't know, somewhere that's just accessible without having to take something apart.
Right. Yeah, so maybe
That's it.
just a PSA for every delivery that Rivian does is telling the owner, informing them of where that is. Just again, worst case scenario. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that covers most of the interior. Do you want to move on to software?
My favorites. Yes. So let's talk about software. So, um, we'll start off first with Siri and Google Assistant. Yes, it was announced that Siri and Google Assistant is coming to both Gen 1 and
Does
Gen
this
2
mean Apple is buying
vehicles.
Rivian?
I'm going to remove you from this call. And so no, it does not mean that. But yeah, so if you have a paired phone via Bluetooth to your vehicle, um, whether it's an iPhone or Android phone, you'll be able to finally override the Alexa slash terrible default. I mean, there's nothing there really, so whatever. Um, yeah. Cool, right? Like, I mean, I think it'll be, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be cool to be able to just hold down and press the button and talk to your assistant. What do you think?
Yep, agreed. Great.
This is a big boy. Rivian autonomy platform. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So, in generation one, this is known as like kind of the driver plus package, right? It is, you have it there. It's kind of what allows you to have highway assist steering, adaptive cruise control, the other safety things, blind spot monitoring. So like not cameras or anything, but like just alerts, right? You get the little radar thing that appears in your vehicle saying, hey, and it dings at you and tells you don't change lanes. There's a car there. So that's all kind of driver plus. Now Rivian has introduced the Rivian autonomy platform for Gen 2, which is going to be enhancing all of these things. But there's an asterisk here, and that is in the future, because right now, I did a post of this on my website about comparing Driver Plus to Rivian autonomy platform today, and truly there is no difference other than, the cameras are higher quality and all that. And in generation 2, in order to activate highway assist, instead of pulling down on the stock, you pull it towards yourself twice to get it activated, which is just going to be a very different feeling for people, because most other cars that utilize some sort of advanced driving assistance have just double tap down, which is going to be weird. But anyways, and the Rivian autonomy platform will be included for free on all generation 2 vehicles. But on top of that is the Rivian autonomy platform plus, because of course they have to do a plus, and that will be a paid add-on. No pricing determined at this point. We don't know if it'll be a one-time or yearly, whatever it may be. But you will get additional features such as lane change on command, which means you'll be able to tap your turn signal on in highway, and the vehicle cameras will pop up because we'll get those and we'll talk about it in a second. And then automatically have your vehicle change into the lane when it has an available spot. Anybody familiar with enhanced autopilot on Tesla or GM's Blue Cruise, it has its ability to do this. So now Rivian is jumping on the bandwagon of doing that. Plus, enhanced highway assist, whatever that means. I imagine that, well, I actually know what that means. It means that the car will now be able to know what traffic is around you and see the other lanes around you, and be able to know that if the lane next to you is slowing down tremendously because of traffic, it will start to slow you down on the proper lane so that you suddenly don't come to an abrupt stop or hit somebody. It's going to be nice, right? Kind of keeping up with the traffic. Again, Tesla Autopilot does this, so it's just nice to see it come over to Rivian vehicles as well. What are your thoughts on the autonomy platform?
Yeah, I think just on the highway assist plus, is that also include, or excuse me, the enhanced highway assist? Is that also the hands off, very limited on certain roads, but is that hands off highway driving as well?
No, so that they call that the driving comfort assist, which will also come with this
Got it. Okay.
down the road. Um,
Yeah.
which just pretty much says, you won't get as nagged as often, not nag free, obviously, but like, you don't have to worry too much about it. And like, obviously, still keep an eye out. And I mean, at no point in my life of driving my truck have I ever thought, oh, let me take my hands off and go eat a sandwich, right? Or take a nap.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be paying attention. I don't trust it fully. No vehicle. I don't trust, and it's not the vehicle so much. I don't trust other people around me to not do stupid
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
I
and I get that the general consensus is that a lot of folks are upset that Rivian has so far stated that some of these new lane change on command and other features like that are not going to be coming to Gen 1. And while I understand offering a new vehicle, I think that while I normally wouldn't be upset at that, it wasn't on my truck at the time of purchase. I didn't pay for that option, supposedly. Rivian, when I did purchase my truck, did say at that time that we have built out our hardware suite, our camera suite, to now be future proof. It has 11 cameras and 5 radars and whatever the number was back then. They said this is going
yeah,
to be future ready and more stuff will come out. And so now they're saying the same thing of, well, now this is the new hardware and this is actually future ready. We're not giving you the features yet. And so what we've been told over the past couple of years has been inconsistent. And I would expect and hope that Rivian does add some of these autonomy platform plus features to Gen 1 because they did say that this hardware was available. And if it truly is a hardware limit, I would love to see them maybe add for a limited time some sort of hardware upgrade for Gen 1.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hate to be constantly compared to Tesla, but they are like the closest thing in terms of a startup, EV company that has done this. But they had the option to allow you to upgrade your MCU one to MCU two, right, for a short period of time there in the vehicles. You were able to update stuff and be able to unlock and get some of that higher quality stuff. I wish that would happen. I went on a bit of a rant about this on a blog post recently too, and on a Twitter space that I did recently about being promised, actually on the Out of Spec podcast, which I was on, and that got released today, June 11th. But I talked about the fact that I understand that you should never buy a product with the promise of what's to come, but instead of what is there today. But it is unfortunate to just suddenly know and hear that, hey, what you have is suddenly kind of obsolete. And not to say it doesn't work anymore in the current way and all that, but like the reality is Rivian's going to focus on the autonomy platform now and not really focus too much on driver plus, right? What exists in Gen 1. They're gonna, because
Mhm.
why would they, right? And so that's kind of,
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it sucks. It really bums me out because like I want all this stuff because I road trip a lot and I know you do too, David. And so like these are some really cool stuff that I wish we could have gotten that now we're not gonna get. All I wanted was auto lane change on a highway, and now I don't even get that feature that I was told I would get one day because all this was on the website up until recently on Rivian's website. You could find all this information for the original generation vehicles, and now it's not. And so, a word of caution to anybody is just because they say these things are coming, be careful. Don't buy it with the thought process of it's coming. Buy it with what it can do today, because yeah, chances are it will come, but you have to be cautious about that. I could go
Yeah.
on for much
Yeah, I
longer
agree.
rant, but I'll stop.
Same.
Talk to me a little about trailer assist. I saw you put this on here. I'm not too familiar with it. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I only know just a brief overview, which is that there should be a trailer assist coming to both Gen 1 and Gen 2. And I don't know if this is going to act in some of the other traditional truck ways where it is an actual thing on the screen or something that will help you pull up to a trailer better, or if this is just something that's going to help you on the highway more. I don't know anything more than that. All I know is it's something that's coming in the future. But maybe just kind of covering all the drive modes overall. You were getting the same drive modes from, modes in the vehicle like pet comfort, car wash. Those are all going to be the same Gen 1 and Gen 2. The
Yep.
only additional one that might potentially be tri and quad motor Gen 2 only is a launch mode. But do you know if that is actually coming to Gen 1 quad motor as well?
Most recently, actually, Wasim made a statement that they're looking to see how they're going to bring this to Gen 1, and I truly think this should definitely come to Gen 1 quad motor owners. I can't see a reason why not. If they decide not to come out with it for Gen 1 quad motors, it's because it's gatekeep it, or gate, what's the word I'm looking for? It's it's being locked to Gen 2 vehicles, right? Like that's just a selling point that they're gonna have. And so that would be unfortunate because I really want a launch mode. There's like I think that would be fun to have. But yeah, like you
Yeah, and
said,
I
try and quad motor will get it in Gen 2.
that's right. And I don't think normally, again, I'd care that launch mode is on the new ones or not the old ones, except for the fact that they have said this is our quad motor flagship performance truck, and yet it's
Yeah.
just a software limitation potentially. We don't know that, but I hope that they at least come out with some sort of launch mode because I've taken it to the drag strip. I can feel the governor kick in. I want to see something else to be able to get a little more performance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There you go. Yeah, car wash mode, like you said, climate schedules is still there, Neo mode, gear guard, obviously. Now, this is exciting, a new one, gear guard live preview via app. So this is was announced and it's coming to both Gen 1 and Gen 2, but we will finally be able to kind of get a preview, be able to go on our our phones and open up the Rivian app and be able to check out our cameras live and see what's going on in our vehicles. Again, Tesla has this with their Sentry mode where you can click into the cameras and see them right on your phone. And I think that's great because now if you have an alarm going off in your car and you're not near it, you can pull up the camera and see what happened. Or if I don't, I guess now that I was gonna say, oh, you can check on your dog or something inside, but truth be told, there is no real interior camera. At least early Gen 1 vehicles had it, but it's been turned off. Later Gen 1 vehicles didn't have it at all. And the new Gen 2 does have it, but it's hiding behind the rear view mirror. So I don't know how that would work. But yeah, but at least exterior views of the car you'll be able to get. So that will be really exciting to be able to see that. I know I've been wanting that for a while. And then Dolby Atmos, we talked a little bit briefly about this earlier, but that's coming alongside Apple Music, where yeah, so you'll get that. Ultra wideband technology, that's coming to Gen 2 vehicles. So UWB. So what that allows you to do is it lets you it's a new chip that's been integrated into the door handles of all four door handles of the vehicle, and it will let you now utilize Apple Wallet or Apple Watch key or Google Wallet key to pretty much unlock your device or unlock your vehicle and use it. So if you have an iPhone, an Apple Watch, a Google Pixel device, or select Samsung devices, I recently learned also support this. You'll be able to use that as a key to go. And now this is different from Bluetooth because ultra wideband technology uses different frequencies. It's actually safer and more secure, but it's also better than Bluetooth, right? Because Bluetooth was not originally designed for these type of technologies that we're utilizing them for today. So this was, and other car manufacturers such as BMW and Volvo utilize this technology, which is really neat. So I'm glad to see it come. Of course, once again, hashtag sad face, Generation 1 vehicles don't get this because we don't have the technology in vehicles to support it.
Yeah, and I have no problem that we're not getting it. And what I'm talking about specifically is like on iPhones. There's the Apple Key where you walk up, touch the door, and even if your phone is dead or off, it will use that chip and unlock
Yeah.
it. Now, what I'm hoping that they don't um, limit to Gen 2 is any sort of Apple Watch control. I would like just something on the watch where you can shortcut it, open it. That would be kind of nice. So let's hope that there's a real Rivian app for that, not some sort of iOS shortcut. But the actual ultra wideband is it's cool in the new one, but yeah, I'm kind of indifferent about it.
I have a friend who's a developer who just launched this. It's in test flight on Watch, but it pretty much goes through the API and lets you unlock and lock your vehicle from the watch. But so it is
Nice.
feasible. So Rivian, there should be no reason you can't do it and make it better, make it pretty, and yeah. So I digress, but that is
Yeah.
something that hopefully we'll get. I agree with you. It's cool, but I'm not. It's not the end of the world. Um, Moving on, we got the official announcement. This has been a long time coming, but we're finally getting Connect Plus subscription. Everybody has to add a plus to the end of their things, but pretty much this will be the premium subscription service that you will get or have the ability to get with your Rivian vehicle. This will include the ability to stream data to your vehicle. So that means you'll be able to natively use Google Cast, YouTube, Apple Music, Tidal, Spotify, TuneIn directly on your vehicle, without having to tether your device. So, meaning using your phone's data plan. You'll also be able to get Wi-Fi hotspot, satellite maps on your navigation, and even more as that it rolls out. Connect Plus will cost $14.99 per month, and every Rivian owner will get a 2-month free trial when it goes live this summer. So that's really exciting. Obviously, I'm going to sign up for it because I want to have all those cool features. I'm like, oh, and something to note that we found out later, but it is unlimited hotspot, like unlimited data, which is great. So you won't be limited to a certain amount. So that's really, it's cheaper than paying for like a hotspot through your service provider.
Yeah, this is great. I'm glad they're starting to charge for it. I know some people are like, I don't want to pay $15. In my opinion, if you're buying a $90,000 truck, you can pay the $15 a month for some data. I'm glad that this is a cost that Rivian is starting to reduce from their end and put on us as the consumer,
Yep.
because everyone else does it. So I'm glad that they are doing it as well. Yeah, I didn't know that the Wi-Fi included unlimited data for hotspot. I think that can be huge. I mean, again, that's cheaper than having a cellular iPad plan on your phone bill instead of just
Yeah.
connected to the truck instead. Yeah, having Apple Music come to it is very nice as well. I think overall it's a good package, and if you don't want it, then that's okay.
Absolutely no. We'll force. Like I said, Rivian will be launching as well the option to let you tether your phone to your vehicle. So pretty much it will use your phone's data to run all this stuff from your vehicle. So it's not like they're pretty much saying, oh, you have to use this or you don't get access to anything. They're going to give you another option. It just may not be as convenient as
Hmm.
what Connect Plus is, and I think that's fair. And again, 14.99 a month is nothing. Like, and if you pay yearly, it'll
Yeah.
be even less because they give you discounts. So absolutely. But let's go ahead and jump into interior trim and colors and all that. David, you want to tackle that?
Yeah, and I don't think we need to spend too much time on it other than that the all of the dual motors come with a black mountain with a vinyl dash, so a black vinyl leather dashboard, with an option to upgrade to the dark ash wood or the ocean coast with the dark wood as well. That is basically those three options for all of the dual motors. And then for tri and quad motor, none of those three options are available. And instead, you get three new options, which is Black Mountain with the brown wood, the Ocean Coast with that gray wood, and then the Slate Sky, which is kind of it's actually a combination of almost a light blue leather and Ocean Coast materials with a walnut wood. So it's a little bit more brighter and more orange than the brown ash wood was. It is like you said before, it's a gorgeous interior. I'm curious what they
Yeah.
are going to charge for it when that comes out. If it's going to be 2 grand like Ocean Coast or maybe a little bit more. Now the one thing that is at least gone for the time being is Forest Edge. I have it in my truck. I think it's the best color. I think that the reason that maybe Rivian didn't sell a lot of them is because the configurator online did not show an accurate description
No,
or
it did not. It did not.
yeah, of that color at all. I showed it to my wife online, and she's like, "This is awful. It's hideous. Let's just go with something else." And then we saw it in person, and she's like, "This is gorgeous. I want it." It's really gray with a tint of green. So I'm hoping that we see its grand return in the future. I still think it's the best color. It kind of puts nature in the truck and feels like you're outdoorsy. Maybe it's going to be a quad exclusive. Who knows? But yeah, I think all the colors are nice.
Yeah. One more note there should be that obviously the base trim is the Black Mountain vinyl, but they did for a while have an Ocean Coast vinyl, which actually one of my
Mhm.
neighbors recently bought an R1S, and he has that Ocean Coast vinyl, so it doesn't include the wood, and it's decent. But yeah, that's been discontinued now, so that's only Gen One vehicles. But and then we'll finally touch our last segment here. Section will be wheel options because there has been some changes to wheels and stuff, and I love wheels. So let's talk about wheels. First off, praise be, the 21-inch Aero wheels have finally been discontinued. Um,
Yeah.
I say this because there are not many options out there for wheel or tire replacements for this outside of the Pirelli Scorpion tires, and I think there's one other option. Michelin was working on one. So like there's not many. It's limited, right? There's not options out there. So they discontinued it, and we'll talk about what they replaced that with in a second. They did introduce a new base all season slash all terrain kind of hybrid tire. This is only available on the dual motor standard vehicles. And it runs a new Goodyear tire on it, which is EV 3 peak mountain rating. Not aggressive, but also like not completely like all season road tire. It's definitely like like I said, a
Mhm.
hybrid. Um, and the rim itself is nice. It's not bad looking. I think it's not bad for base.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
fine overall. I like the idea of a new EV specific. It's a Goodyear Wrangler EV all terrain one, like you said. It's not as aggressive as the Pirelli, But that might be kind of the perfect middle ground for people who want some on-road performance, but want to go off-road a little bit, but not enough to justify the full all-terrain package. So I think my
Yeah,
biggest gripe with this is that this isn't available on any other model. No dual large, no dual max.
that is
I think that
weird.
they should have made this the base wheel across all of them, because on dual large and max they made the sport bright free, which is $2,000 on the base dual. So like continue to upcharge for the sport bright, make a little bit more money if you're Rivian, and offer this kind of perfect middle ground tire for most people on all of them. So it's, again, it's odd that they released this at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and then we still have the good old trusty 20-inch all-terrain, though, and it is still running the Pirelli and Scorpion tires, but they actually downsized the size of the tires now, so they are a slightly bit smaller, and it's probably due to the fact that this configuration is now identical to what the old 21-inch aero wheel was, or the 21 road wheel was. So they're pretty much identical. It's just 20-inch rim on the same exact kind of tire size. So kind of makes sense to do that, but also it's easily swappable without having to do any calibrations to your vehicle. So, which is kind of nice. It's always a win when you can just do a swap and not have to worry about getting it redone. And then we also get that 20-inch all-terrain, but the dark version. There used to be a bright version, but that was discontinued a while back, actually, for Gen 1, and then Gen 2 is definitely discontinued. But now, something to note about these all-terrain tires, they are only available with what they call the new all-terrain package. And that does include automatically, if I'm not mistaken, the air compressor utility panels, the compact spare tire, and there's definitely probably something else, but yeah, it's maybe the
And the
underbody
underbody
shield.
storage.
Underbody shield. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Or
yeah, exactly.
shield.
Yeah. So, and then none of these are obviously not available on dual standard. So you can only get them on dual large max, tri max, or quad max. And then yeah, so here's an interesting thing: the 22-inch Sport Bright are now the free wheel on all trims but the dual standard, which is so weird because this used to be like the premium wheel, but now it is a free wheel except for dual standard, where it's a $2,000 upgrade. And then there's a Sport Dark, which is just an additional $1,000 for all trims except dual standard, which is $3,000. And whew, this is so. We'll talk about this in a second because
Yeah.
I think at the end of this list I want to talk about the confusion, because there is confusion. And then
Yeah.
there's a new 22-inch range wheel with aero, right, running a Scorpion MS tire with a removable aero cap, and that is $1,000 on all trims, $2,000 on dual standard. I want to talk about this tire or this wheel for a second because this one leaked early, and I thought it was the ugliest thing on planet Earth. And then I
I
saw more
agree.
and more of it. Yeah, and then I saw more and more of it, and then I saw with the aero cover removed, and I said, "Wow, that is a really damn good looking wheel." What do you think?
I'm
Would you
still
get it?
I don't really like it overall. I would not get it. I would stick with the 20s just because of an off-roading portion. The aero cap only adds 2 to 3 miles per 100% charge anyways. It doesn't make a
Yeah,
difference. If you do buy them, I would say rip that thing off and look at the better wheel. I don't think the wheel is that much better. I think it's still worse sport wheels. Um, I mean, I'm glad, I guess, they have an aero option for someone who is
yeah.
really concerned about range and that's their number one focus, but it looks like a big dinner plate on the side of a truck to me. So,
I I would not buy this, and no one should buy this wheel with the intention of, oh, I'm gonna get some extra miles because it has an aero cover. That is not. You buy it because you like the design. That's why you buy it, right? Like that's why you
right.
would get it. And I think there's some opportunity for some companies to design some cool vinyl designs they can put over that that wheel, that big dinner
Don't
plate.
give
It's just
anyone
like,
any bad ideas.
Oh, I already can see T-Raps doing it. Uh,
Yeah.
and then our last wheel option here is the new 22-inch Super Sport tire running on a special or some special Michelin Pilot Sport S5 tires. Now, this wheel combo is only available on the quad motor, and more importantly, it's the first time a staggered wheel setup is running on a Rivian vehicle, meaning the rear wheels are wider than the front wheels. So when you're doing a tire rotation, you can't just do a four-wheel tire swap. It's you have to do two and two, and then that leads to the question of what spare tire do you keep in the back? Well, I guess you keep a donut, so it doesn't really matter what spare tire you keep in the back. But they look really gorgeous. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think their Rivian's probably best looking wheel. They're really nice looking. I am actually a little bit confused on the staggered portion because I know you mentioned that the rear wheels were wider, but a comment from Jeff Hamoud in a video was that the front wheels were wider. So I didn't know if he misspoke or if they specifically made the front wheels wider because the vehicle already squats to the back, so that's getting full traction. Maybe they wanted the front wheel wider because that'll allow for a little bit extra traction when it lifts off. I'm not sure what the correct answer is until Rivian releases the details. But overall, I think it's a gorgeous wheel. It is definitely a performance on-road wheel only. Those tires are
Yeah.
very specific sport tires. I would not touch dirt with those things, but they're a great wheel.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I don't want to say Jeff was probably error, but I think it was an error on his part. And I say that because the front are running 275, 50, 22, and the back are 305, 45, 22. So there's a tire calculator online, and I'll post it in the description. But the front tire is 10.8 inches wide, and the rear tire is 12 inches wide. So that's where that difference comes. So, and in one of Kyle Connor from Out of Specs videos, you could see that the rear tire definitely sits out just a little bit more. It would be really weird to have the front tires be wider,
Yeah, it would.
but I mean, not impossible. But yeah, so anyway, regardless, it is a stagger setup, so it's not a square setup, and that's just different, right? So, anyways, but that's
Yeah,
the
and I think
tires.
kind of to wrap up the tire portion, it is nice that overall with the new 275 60/20 size on the all terrains, it seems like the diameters between all of the wheels are now within about 0.2 inches of each other.
Yeah,
Previously, if you would swap between like a set of 22s and 20s, you would need to do a speedometer and camera calibration and a software flip. And now I believe the software is only just to make your visualizer and the truck match whatever wheels you have on. But I hope in theory that this makes it kind of the same basic diameter across the board. You can swap out between rims and tire sets as needed. So I think they did a nicer job kind of making everything consistent here.
yeah, yeah, it's true. Um, okay, so I want to talk about one last thing, and then we'll wrap it up, and that is the amount of options that Rivian has now created.
Yeah.
And I say that
Yeah.
because there is a plethora of choices when it comes to, you know, tons of different wheels, tons of new interior colors, tons of floor mats, battery configurations, motor configurations, right? So there is a lot of configuration. And the way I've said this a few times now, but the way Rivian was before, it reminded me of Apple in the early days, right? You want an iPhone? Okay, white or black, and 8 or 16 gigabytes, right? That's what you got.
Mm-hmm.
Those were your choices. Now, it reminds me very much of modern day Apple, where there's 15 versions of an iPad, and nobody really knows which one they should get because they all are kind of the same, but slightly different, and like you're not really sure. And then on top of that, some of them come with more memory on them than others, like more RAM. So like I feel like Rivian has taken a page out of that book in that they've made their configurator complicated. Right now, there's a lot of options. Some options are available for some models, some options are not available for some models, some are upcharge, some are standard. What do you think, David? Because like I feel like it's gotten a little bit more complicated, I should say. And on top of that, the configurator on the actual Rivian.com website, I don't think got easier to use. I feel like I feel like it's a downgrade from what it was before. And like there's a lot of hidden menus and pop-ups, and things, and it's just not easy. And it could just be me, but I've heard a couple of people make this similar complaint, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean you're spot on there. I think starting with the online configurator, I find it more difficult to use. Swiping through tiles, especially on a desktop, isn't um, the best, I
Intuitive.
think, UI choice. The
Yeah.
image is almost too large compared to the actual options that you're looking at. So I think that they need to adjust some things there, and most importantly, make some things very clear. Like for example, the all-terrain package, you really don't know what comes included in that package. The fact that you click on a 20-inch wheel and you see that it's $4,000, but unless you're really paying attention and reading that it comes with an all-terrain package, you would miss that.
Yeah.
And then you even click on the all-terrain package and it doesn't tell you what's included in the all-terrain package. There's no list of features in that, just
Nope.
images, and it doesn't do a great job. Um, but yeah, I think the overall ladder, so to speak, of the trims is kind of interesting. So, for example, the price difference between a dual standard and a dual large is $7,000. But then if you add the sport wheels to the dual standard just to match what the large comes with, now it's $5,000. And so you
Right.
you really definitely start to creep up on that ladder and get very close to pricing. If you want a dual performance max pack and you want the nice roof and the nice audio system, you go from this $10,000 gap to try all the way down to like $4 or $5,000. Then why not
Hmm.
step up to try at that point? So they if that was their goal, they did a great job at it. And I think they're doing a good job bumping you up into that next tier. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of confusion in terms of what is available and what's not available. And my complaint on the 20-inch base ATs that should be standard across the board.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. That's it, right? Like I just feel like um it's very confusing and complicated. And I worry about when people are looking to purchase their first EV, as most people will come to the Rivian website and they're going to see all this and they're going to want to, there's a store with the R1 shop, which has plenty of, pre-built configurations and all that, but people are also going to want to build their own and check it out. And it's confusing and convoluted in my
yeah,
personal opinion, and I just don't. I think it needs to be dumbed down. And I feel like if they want to offer all these options, I don't fine, okay, but there should be an easier way to do that. I come from being a software designer and web developer as well, so like I always try to find the best and easiest way to put things out there. And I reached out. I sent an email to Rivian and made my. I know I sound entitled saying this, but I said like, guys, like I just for your sake, I don't think that your site, especially these portions that I laid out, are very these are critical pieces of the site, and it's not easy, so
hmm
that's it. I mean, that's just it. I think that I hope that they'll take that into consideration, and maybe not. I mean, the best, not the best, but like you'll know if something like that is affecting you when suddenly views are down on your site or sales are down or something like that. So they'll be able to kind of determine if people are having issues. Maybe it's a
yeah.
non-issue and it's just us, but needless to say, we'll see what happens. But anyways, there's a lot of options out there and there's a lot of great options.
And well,
So
and there is wrong information on there as well. So the dual standard,
yes.
on the R1T says it's 69.9, and then you go to the next card of dual large and it says it's 69.9, but it's not. And then the dual max is
Mm,
69.9. So there is pricing that is incorrect, and that's on R1T and R1S. But I
huh.
think if you are the buyer's advice, if you are new to this page, I would click on the compare tab, read the differences.
Yeah.
Um, Although again, same thing. It says all terrain package, but doesn't tell you what's included in that package. It says Adventure
Hmm.
2 trim or Ascend 2 trim. But what does that mean? Because I don't know what one is. So what is the two?
Yeah.
But yeah, Rivian, you need a little bit of work there for sure.
Yeah, and to kind of add on that, David and I are actually David here has been awesome at helping me out with some stuff on the Rivian Tracker site, and we're working to put together kind of a great comparison table where you'll be able to we're gonna take what Rivian has and like plus it to be able to help make this. But like I shouldn't have to do that, right? Like this should be on Rivian's website because people are going to go to Rivian.com. They're not visiting my site first before they make. I'd love them to visit my site first before they make a decision, but chances are the average consumer is not doing that. So we want to, yeah, they need to work on that. So
yeah, but thank you.
Anyway,
yeah, thanks for having me. I loved just chatting
of
about
course.
everything.
Yes, thank you so much, David, for following and for joining us here. Where can people follow you? Tell me a little bit about Emerald City Rivian Club and how people can get in touch with you if they're in the Washington area.
Yeah, if you're in the Washington area, you have a Rivian, you want to come hang out and go off-roading or camping or volunteer, sign up on emeraldcityrivianclub.com. Always free. We do not charge for any membership. Or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, same name, Emerald City Rivian Club. But other than that, I hope to actually go off-roading with you one day.
Yes, I would love to come from all the way in this side of the country and drive all the way over there one day and do something fun. That would be a fun trip. So yeah, I also agree and hope to do that one day. But thanks so much for joining. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this very long video. But again, we'll have chapter markers. If you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you. Just a couple of housekeeping things. Please like, subscribe, comment below if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. I will be down in the comments. If I see anything that's directed at David, I'll make sure that he sees it and he can comment on it. And don't miss out on visiting riviantracker.com. I've been posting a lot about the R1 refresh and my thoughts and opinions. I posted another video recently on, will I be getting an R1 refresh? So check it out. I'll make sure to link it up top here somewhere so you can look at that. And one final note is I currently made some Rivian Tracker stickers that I'm giving away for free. So if you go to riviantracker.com/stickers or just visit the website and click on the sidebar where it says stickers, you can actually sign up and get some free stickers. It just helps support the channel, get the name out there, and it's just a little gift from me to you. So, and of course, there's a little buy me a coffee button there. So if you want to donate a couple bucks to help cover the stuff on the site and cover that stuff, it's always appreciated, but not mandatory. So thank you so much again. Yeah, we'll see you next time on the next video. Thanks again for joining me, David, and we'll see you real soon.